Hey there, Pony fan! So, I am staring down an unusually busy week, but I didn't want to leave you without at least some opinion piece on non-compete clause. So, let's get right into it. It's a not really very good episode. The story setup is fairly simple. We're back to Twilight School for Extraordinary Youngsters, and Rainbow Dash and AJ are competing for the best grade on Rate My Professors or something. Okay, but seriously, they're both chaperoning a field trip for those same 6 kids that we always see, and they're both trying to outdo each other to see who can be the teacher of the month. AJ and Rainbow Dash competition episodes are kind of hit and miss for me. I think we only got one really good one, and that was back in season 1 when they were doing the race running of the leaves thing. And the reason why that one worked really well is their attempts to outdo and one-up each other were funny. This scenario can create pretty good comedy if you let it. But that's not the case in non-compete clause. And it's basically because there's no punchline. And without some sort of humorous fallout from their arguments, they're just arguing. Like when AJ's having the class build an apple shed and Rainbow Dash builds it really fast, it would have been funnier if it looked exactly perfect. And then AJ says, well, it doesn't matter how fast it was as long as it was done right. And then it immediately collapses right afterward. That at least has a punchline, as lame and telephoned as it kind of is. The next thing that I think stops the episode from working are the kids. The biggest reason for this is they don't actually seem to need this field trip. Their ability to work as a team is actually just fine. Throughout the course of the episode, they're always helping each other and rescuing each other and assisting each other with problems that they're having, and it's like, why do you even need to go on this field trip? You obviously know how to work as a team. Next up, the kids just aren't that interesting. Part of it is because they're just not very well characterized. And it's also possible that their personalities are sort of difficult to characterize with the amount of time that you have. I think it's worth referencing back to the first episode of Friendship is Magic, where we meet each member of the main 6, and they all have a personality that you can sort of sum up with around a 3-minute introduction. Now, the friendship class didn't even get that. They got maybe a 30-second introduction at the beginning of Season 8. Another thing which stops them from being interesting characters is the fact that there's very little internal group conflict. They are pretty much the Burger King Kids Club, where they're very different from one another, but in a very superficial way, and they all get along famously. Now, compare this to the actual main characters, AJ and Rainbow Dash. They're fighting. And you know what? That's the thing that I think I liked most about the episode, is it understands that even really good friends don't get along, can fight with each other, and are competitive with each other. I think that the worst part of the episode is this sequence after AJ and Rainbow get chewed out by Twilight and they have to take the kids on a nature walk, and then they get into this mood where they're trying to really agree with each other, and they're always like, oh no, you're correct, oh no, you're correct. And I don't honestly know if it's worse than the parts when they're fighting, but I think by then I was really just kind of sick of it. And also the consequences of them not fighting aren't as exciting as the consequences of them fighting, so it's like even less interesting. The only really good parts of the episode are at the beginning and at the end. The beginning shows that Fluttershy has won Teacher of the Month like 9 times in a row, so I guess the school is 9 months old. There's some funny jokes in there. Pinkie has the line of the episode. And there's some nice visual comedy with Spike struggling to carry Twilight's thick rulebook around. Now, as much as I thought the story was kind of dull and cliche-ridden in a lot of ways, the ending actually was fairly good. You see, what happens is Applejack and Rainbow Dash try to build 2 separate bridges out of twigs and vines. And the entire mess collapses, and they end up trapped in a cage hanging above flying piranha fish, which, really great idea there. And the kids have to work as a team to rescue them, even though I think we only actually needed the ones who could fly, because the changeling acts as a distraction for the Bitacudas, and the non-flyers just kind of break AJ and Rainbow Dash out of the cage that they've created for themselves. Not hugely necessary to the process, but, I guess it gives them something to do. So that's a nice sequence, and when they get back to the school, Twilight says, okay, what happened? How'd you like it? And they say that Rainbow and AJ were a really good example of what not to do, and they act like they planned it, and I thought that was a nice twist. The way I thought they were going was Rainbow and AJ were going to say, oh, we actually ended up learning from the kids. The student has become the teacher. But the way that they went with it was cool, especially because Twilight knew that this was essentially complete BS and they were totally fighting the whole time. So that was a great character moment. But unfortunately, the few bright spots in the episode can't save it from being kind of a slog to get through. So I'm going to give My Little Pony non-compete clause a 2 out of 5. Thanks for accepting this vlog. I really wanted to do something better for you, but, I'll try harder next week, I promise. Now, if you're interested in more reviews of anime, movies, TV shows, comic books, or video games, check out my channel right here on YouTube. Thanks for watching.
Hey kids, today's show is brought to you by the letter 4 and the number potato! I'm a stupid private.